guys, so I decided to do a video today about stamp collecting supplies and tools, the stuff that I like to use. So let's get started. Well, first of all, I bought this nice dinner tray. This is a kind of handheld dinner tray, right, to just hold a majority of my supplies. Now this is actually a pretty recent thing. I just got into that tray a few weeks ago maybe. So anyways, let's get into the supplies that I keep on this, and this is my go-to tray. I move it to and from my desk whenever I'm doing stamp stuff or not, and this just has like a majority of things that I end up using. So first thing, I actually have just a big old cup. Now this happens to be a muddler, but I use this to keep all my different pens. I've got anything from Sharpies to, well, regular Sharpies to big old fat Sharpie, right? I keep my tongs in here. Now tongs, let me move on to that, are definitely one of my favorite stamp collecting tools. I use them more than pretty much anything. All of you probably know there's different style tongs that you can have with different tips. So let me actually zoom you in here a little bit so you can see. You'll get used to what tong to use for what purpose. Tongs come in different lengths, as you can tell. These actually have a similar tip on these tongs, totally different lengths. Now I do prefer the longer tongs. I believe this is actually an earlier pair of tongs that I had bought. These are probably 4-inch tongs. And the 6-inch tongs I find superior. Much prefer that ergonomically. I don't have super tiny hands either, and the bigger tongs are nicer. You don't have to get as close to the actual stamp. So yeah, I'm not a big fan of the shorter tongs. I would go for the longer tongs. Now, different tips, right? You got the round tip here, you got the spade tip here, and you got the pointed tip here. The pointed tip is my absolute go-to. If I were to pick a single pair of tongs that I had to live on a desert island with, it would be these fine tip tongs, because these tongs just simply have more dexterity to me. The only reason I ever really use these is, let's say if I'm picking up a larger stamp or like multiple things at once, I kind of prefer these. They just have more surface area, but these smaller ones, for just about anything I ever do, I always kind of default to these. These are my favorite ones. The 6-inch with the fine tip. These are my go-to tongs. So I love these. So that's tongs. And now besides these, pretty straightforward. All you guys would know this, a letter opener. Come on, you got to get yourself one of these. I got a nice stainless steel one. Long, not very sharp, but sharp enough to cut paper. Love a paper opener, or a letter opener. You gotta have one, in my opinion. Some people like to use their tongs to open letters. You totally can. You can just slip it in the side and go open the letter, whatever you want to do. But in actuality, when you order enough things and they come in different packages with different thicknesses of paper, even cardboard, that kind of stuff, a thicker letter opener is totally superior to a pair of stamp tongs, in my opinion. There's really no replacement for a letter opener. Maybe a knife, but that's scary. The whole point of this is that it's not so sharp that you don't cut your stamps or cut right through a paper. You know, I find a letter opener truly is designed just about as perfectly as you would want it to be. For a bunch of different applications as far as opening packages. I use it to open my Amazon packages all the time. I just cut right through the center seam of the flaps on the top. Boom, piece of cake. So anyway, everybody knows that one, right? Letter opener. Now, next thing that I actually really do like is little tiny bowls. Okay, these are ceramic bowls. These happen to be Le Creuset. They came with some frying pan I bought or something. I have a couple of different ones here. Little tiny bowls. They're fantastic. Hold all kinds of different stuff in them. I have found them to be quite enjoyable. See, this one specifically, I use a bunch of stamp mounts to make my albums. Now I will end up They come in sheets, and you know, so this was probably twice as long. Let's say this looks like it's probably a 44 millimeter width or something, and I'll cut it off and save the scraps in this bowl. And so I have a whole bunch of different scraps in this bowl. This happens to be a package of mounts, but I save my scraps. I'll even save scraps of post-it notes. Sometimes this is the exact size of a post-it note I need. Just a little slip of paper. Why throw it away? I can save it. I keep this bowl handy, and then, yeah, I mean, you can tell a whole bunch of different little mount scraps in here. And I don't throw them away. I save them, because you just never know when you're going to end up needing these little scraps. These cost money too. Why would I toss them, right? So there's a pretty straightforward purpose. I like to keep some labels in there too, whatever. Do whatever you want with it. Yeah, I found a little tiny bowl, bunch of little bowls, super convenient. This other one I haven't really used a whole lot, but I do keep my post-it notes, which is a pretty decent stamp supply to have. I mean, just to label things, can't go wrong. Everybody knows post-it notes. So, next. Now, this happens to be a pencil holder, this guy here, but I've had this for years and years. Anyways, I keep different stuff in here, pens, pencils, whatever you want to do. Little notepads, sticky notes, more post-it notes, little labels. That's another great tool for stamp collecting. I bought these on Amazon, a variety pack. Can't go wrong with little adhesive labels. They leave no residue, and they're sticky enough to stay on what you need. So if you wanted to, let's say, label a bag of stamps, you know, worldwide or US or whatever, a bunch of little labels is great. I actually have ended up cutting some of these labels into smaller tabs, almost like a bookmark. And it was kind of hard because they're thick, these packages with plastic, but literally cut through them with a nice pair of sharp scissors. And so basically I get like 3 times the labels out of a single pack of labels. Let's say all I need to write is like what the stamp number is. Why would I waste an entire big label? I just cut them into little smaller labels. I'll say number 37, stick it on a bag, that kind of idea. So love those labels. Now here's another one that you can't really go wrong with, that everyone's familiar with, whiteout. This happens to be whiteout tape. I find that actual liquid whiteout, is sometimes more advantageous. I actually do struggle with these tape whiteout styles. You're supposed to just press and you can write over. Let's say you wrote something with pen, you can press down and white it out. Sometimes it just doesn't white out perfectly, so I'm not actually in love with those. I kind of prefer the liquid whiteout, but whatever. So yeah, you can keep whatever you want in these pencil holders. They're fantastic. A little knife, just in case I need a knife. In the bottom drawer I keep rubber bands and more labels. Rubber bands are also pretty useful. Something to consider if you don't have any. Might as well get some. By the way, as far as rubber bands go, I bought like a gigantic bag of rubber bands on Amazon with a huge variety. Actually, let me grab that and show you, because I do find that useful. One sec. So this big bag of rubber bands, right? Huge variety, different width, strength, length, all that kind of stuff. Colors, blah blah blah. See, there's a big fat one there. You can buy a big bag of mixed rubber bands on Amazon or at your local, store, and it's just worth having around. Trust me. If eventually you'll get to a point where you want to keep a stack of Glassines together, you don't want to use like a big gentle rubber band, something like that. It just so happens I'm more than likely going to have it in this big giant assorted bag of rubber bands. I find this useful. I don't use it all the time, but it's nice to have around. It's worth getting, in my opinion. So let's move on to the next thing. Okay, so next up, if you're like me and you actually send non-machinable letters, then you're probably going to want to pick up one of these. Unless you want to just write it on all your envelopes, you totally could. I actually decided to pop the money, get this little ink stamper, ka-chink, right on the letter, non-machinable. I happen to use, and I'll show you later, a lot of wax seals on my envelopes and stationery that I send, and they're non-machinable when you put a wax seal on there. So this makes it super convenient. Generally, I'll go on the front and at least hit it once, maybe twice, sometimes 4 times for a big package to have the non-machinable on there. It does work pretty well, and just to show you, okay, of course that didn't work. A little unsteady on my hand. That's the idea, non-machinable. That way the postman knows, don't feed that crap through a machine. It's going to mess up my letter, or it's too thick, or you're going to ruin my wax seal, that kind of idea. So I love that little stamper. Now, glue stick, okay, everybody knows glue stick, right? Since you were a little kid, I find this useful. I'm building that big giant worldwide album currently, and when I adhere some pictures like maps or informational boxes of paper that I've printed and cut out, can't go wrong with a glue stick. That one's pretty self-explanatory. Now, next thing, tape. Now I keep my tape here, right? I got my regular roll of Scotch tape. You know, Scotch tape definitely has its purpose. I do find it very useful. Everybody loves Scotch tape. Pretty simple, straightforward stuff as well. But I had forgotten Scotch tape is not archival safe. You would have to actually buy archival safe Scotch tape. Let me tell you, it's expensive. You're probably going to want to skip that. I ended up finding, per one of my viewers' suggestions, he said, why are you using that to build your album? Isn't that not going to last? I said, you're right. That's 100% right. I frickin' totally forgot about that. So I'm trying to get away from the Scotch tape, and I got some artist's tape. Now, this was on Amazon. I bought it in a 3-pack. You can get them in varying widths, and they're kind of like a fabric tape, but the trick is that they're not acidic, they're not going to yellow over time, they're not going to damage anything that you're trying to display in your album. They seem sticky enough that they do the job, so I'm quite happy with it. Once again, artist's tape. And I actually ended up getting a pretty thin roll, which I kind of regret. Once I use this up, I'm going to go for a thicker roll of this artist tape, just so I can tell you exactly how thick this is. Let me look it up real quick so you know. Okay, so this specific rolls that I got, 0.6 inches wide. So yeah, I think they go up to like an inch, maybe just under an inch, but I find this is usable. It's good enough. It's a little bit thinner than normal Scotch tape, but like I said, next time go on a little wider with it, just to be closer to a usual normal piece of tape. So anyways, artist tape, absolutely fantastic. You can put this in and be guilt-free and confident that you're not going to ruin anything in your album over time. We're talking a very long time. Of course, I'll probably be dead before the Scotch tape in my worldwide album that I did use actually yellows and unadheres, but we're building things that are to be preserved as stamp collectors for future generations for a long time, that kind of idea. So using the right tape is worth it. Next, handy dandy little box of Exacto knives. Now I also got this on Amazon. Absolutely love this thing. I do use this all the time. For those of you that have seen my video on how I remove stamps that are hinged in albums, I actually end up using these instead of trying to yank them off the pages, unless they just come right off. Some older albums you can just pull hinged stamps right off. Otherwise, if they're really stuck on there, I find lifting the stamp up a little bit, taking your Exacto knife and being careful and just cutting the hinge from the back, piece of cake. Also, I mean, geez, it's just a super sharp knife. I mean, these have like infinite uses. Anytime you ever need to cut something, there you go. A bunch of different tips in this kit. Now, just for fun, let me check on Amazon, see what I paid for this kit. Okay, with shipping, $10.59 for this kit. Now, I'm sure you can find some cheaper. Just so you guys know, I don't go out much. I don't like to bother going to the store just to pick up one single thing. I'm the kind of guy who I will just order it on Amazon. I'll pay an extra $1 or $2, whatever. So I'm sure you can find a cheaper kit. This one did have the different. I like the fat handle, big plastic fat handle Exacto knife the most. Just seems to give me the most security when I'm holding it. And then yeah, I mean the fact that it had all these different tips, nice little magnet strip, keeps them all in there. So pick your tip, pick your knife. There you go. Just again, infinite uses for this nice little Exacto knife kit. I'll just keep this right here. Okay, the next thing that I definitely recommend picking up, an ultraviolet light. Now, I ended up getting this from, I can't remember. Let me check. Hold on. Okay, got it from Mystic. Now, I had actually gone through, I did a video on ultraviolet lights. I got the wrong kind of light. light originally. There's different wavelengths of light. You're going to want, so this one is what they call dual wave. It has long wave and short wave. Now, I can't honestly remember which is which. I think that the 254 is the long wave and the 380 is the short. I could be wrong, whatever, but it does have two different wavelengths on this guy. So ultimately, if you're identifying postage stamps, you're going to run across what they call tagged stamps. You're going to end up needing to get the right ultraviolet light. Most every one that I do uses this long strip here as the right wavelength to identify if it's tagged or not. When tagged just means phosphorescent, they'll glow under ultraviolet light in the dark surroundings. So ultimately, this was not cheap. $70 on Mystic for this light, but it's a nice quality light. I don't think I'll have to get another one, hopefully, and I've enjoyed it so much so far. It's definitely just been worth the money to know that I simply have the right tool to perform the job that I need. That is just kind of critical, you know. I mean, you'll think that you have identified a postage stamp as tagged or not, and if you're using the wrong wavelength light, ultraviolet light, to identify it, you're gonna misidentify it. Nobody wants to do that. So ultraviolet light, absolutely fantastic. Okay, next thing, Watermark Tray. Now let me turn my ISO up. It looks kind of dark. There you go. So Watermark Tray. Now these are awesome. You can get them on Amazon, you can get them on Mystic, you can get them all over the place, eBay, wherever you want to go. It's a little tray for you to put your lighter fluid or watermark fluid on the back of a stamp upside down to check the watermark. Pretty common. Most stamp collectors are familiar with this. You know, just so you guys know, this video is kind of geared toward new collectors, anybody at all, period. Just trying to give as much info as I can about the tools that I use. Now, these trays have this kind of deeper part here. That's where you put the stamps, put the fluid, so it keeps the fluid in there, and then you can check for a watermark. When you want to dry them out, you put them on the ribbed section, allows air underneath, helps them dry a little quicker. You can also blow on the stamps too. I find sometimes I'm not patient enough to let them naturally dry. This lighter fluid does actually dry pretty quickly. So anyway, stamp tray, watermark tray, that's perfect for checking watermarks. They have all different styles, sizes, depths of tray. You can get shallow ones or deeper ones, whatever you want. I like that one. That one's great. I also have another one at work that's actually a taller walls, so it's a bit deeper. I like that one too. But anyways, yeah, that moves me on to my next one, watermark fluid, lighter fluid to check your watermarks. Roncinol is the one that you're going to want to get if you're going to go the lighter fluid route. A lot of people use Roncinol. Now, an awful lot of people also use watermark fluid. Honestly, just pick whatever one you want to do. I did read an article once talking about collectors, or some really hardcore collectors, you know, saying that they don't like Roncinol because it has to leave some kind of residue. Let's say if you were going to squirt this lighter fluid in the tray and let it dry, you'll see like the thinnest little bit of kind of clear opaque white residue left, and so really hardcore collectors don't like that. They'll say, well, if it leaves a residue in my tray, it must leave a residue in my stamp. But then again, I've seen some really like professional collectors that that will use it on a super valuable stamp, like in a heartbeat. I saw one where some pawn shop show, and the lady thought that she had like a Z Grill Benjamin stamp, and they called out an expert to come and check it. And what did he use to check it? Roncinol. Go figure. And we're suspecting that it might be one of the rarest stamps in history. So hey, ultimately choose whatever you want, whether you use lighter fluid or watermark fluid. Sorry for the noise above. Pick whichever you want. I find this one to be a little bit more economical. It's cheaper. It's an old-fashioned way of doing it, and there's nothing wrong with it as far as I can tell. I've never heard a stamp. So I like Roncinol. If you do get lighter fluid, you can't just use any lighter fluid. It's got to be, well, it doesn't have to be Roncinol, but there's a particular ingredient in here that it needs to have. Sorry, I can't remember right off the bat. Let me check so I don't misinform you. Okay, I give up. I can't freaking find anywhere what the chemical was specifically in Roncinol that makes it work. Apparently you can use Zippo lighter fluid. I mean, heck, I was just looking. This is made by Zippo Manufacturing Company anyway. Maybe one of you can chime in the comments. I swear to God, I read something when I was researching what to use for watermarks about, and they were saying that you can't just use any lighter fluid ever. It has to have a specific chemical in it that makes it work. Maybe I'm wrong. Okay, moving on. When I was looking that up, I saw on there on a website it said Bestine. I was like, haha, so that's right. I almost forgot. I would have left this out of this video. Now, this is another tool that you can use, Bestine. This is a solvent and thinner, definitely dangerous chemicals. Same with this. Bestine is used to remove adhesive stamps from on paper, pieces, envelopes, whatever. Bestine's great. Now, I don't actually use it a whole lot, but when I do use it, I ended up pouring it into a little eyedropper so you don't have to pour it out of this big fat spout. A little bit excessive, a little dangerous, wasteful, using the actual tin. So go and pick yourself up a little eyedropper bottle. I got these on Amazon, a whole bunch of them for cheap, and or just reuse them. Actually, this one I think I used to have vape juice in, and I cleaned it out and ended up putting some Bestine. So you can just take a few drops, drop it onto your stamp, and then let it soak, and then you should be able to remove your self-adhesive stamp from paper. So Bestine's great. Just another tool that you can use in stamp collecting. So, besides that, next thing, what do we got here? This is a little scale. Okay, now, little tiny gram scales. These can just be used to weigh whatever you want. I actually have, sometimes when I'm selling stamps, I found this useful in where I'll have a glassine that's full of, let's say, 50 or 100, different, of the same stamp, like duplicates. And I don't want to sit there and literally count through hundreds of these stamps. So what I do is I weigh a single stamp, then I pour all the stamps on there and see how much that weighs. I do the math, right? You just divide it by the weight, and then you can figure out, how many stamps you likely have in a whole pile of stamps instead of counting them one by one. So this is just a little cheap method I use. I don't use this a whole lot, but sometimes this little gram scale totally comes in handy. So I like to keep that here. Okay, next thing, stamp collecting supply or tool would be hinges. Now, okay, we all know hinges, they damage the stamps on the back, especially if you were to hinge a mint never hinge stamp, which is why they call it that. They designate stamp condition based on whether it's been hinged or not. And there's all kinds of heavily hinged, light hinged, hinge remaining, formerly hinged. Hinging stamps is a older practice, and you take out they're basically little pieces of glassine that have adhesive on the back. Try to grab one out of here. So they are little folded pieces. You lick it and stick it onto the stamp, and then you lick and stick into the book or paper or album or wherever you're going to put them. So I don't really recommend hinges a whole lot. They do devalue stamps. Like I said, if you put them on a mint never hinge stamp, you're going to ruin the stamp in the sense that you've damaged or messed with the gum on the back of the stamp, and it's no longer going to be in mint never hinge condition. So this was an old-fashioned way to adhere stamps into books and on pages. Now, I still do use hinges. This one's actually almost empty. If a stamp isn't particularly valuable and I don't really care about it, I'm going to use a hinge. Why? Because mounts are expensive, okay? Now, I've been buying plenty of mounts and using them all the time, but I've been, I've built many albums, and if I was going to mount every single stamp, I mean, hundreds and hundreds of dollars just down the drain to mount every single stamp. Like I said, some of them I just don't care. I really don't care about the condition of them. Or let's say they've already been hinged, and why even bother? Like, there's a big nasty hinge on there. Well, I'll just put a hinge right on the back of the remaining hinge and put them in the album. So I use hinges sometimes, but yeah, a lot of collectors will tell you you need to take these and throw them right into the garbage. It's a bad practice. You know, you don't want to hinge stamps. You just need to be aware of that it does devalue certain stamps, pretty much any of them, and it's just up to you. I mean, I don't think that they're totally worthless. I think that hinges still have their place in the stamp collecting world, but do I recommend hinging any kind of stamp that you think is valuable whatsoever? No. But let's say you had a super common stamp that's a recent issue, that's only got a catalog value of 25 cents, and probably won't have any value for the next 100 or 200 years. Who cares? You're going to be dead anyway. I mean, heck, hinge the stamp. You know, if you don't want to blow all the money on mounts, hinge them in there. This is for fun. This is a hobby. You know, people take it very seriously, and they have different varying levels of seriousness of how they treat their stamps. And you just need to know, yes, hinges are not particularly ideal these days. Maybe back in the 50s, it's what Grandpa did. And so just as long as you know the difference, it's preferable to mount them in mounts instead of hinging them. Now you know if you didn't. Anyways, I still use them sometimes. Whatever. It's a free country, right? So, next thing, perf gauges. Now, I keep this guy right here in my tray. This is actually my all-time favorite perf gauge ever, period. This guy happens to be the Precision US Specialty Multi-Gauge. Now, what I actually really love this thing for is this square right there is millimeter measurements. Now this goes 0, 5, 10, right, and it goes the same horizontally. So I use this square block where I will put the gauge over the stamp and be able to measure the design millimeters really easily using this. Now it also does have a millimeter measurement all the way across the bottom of this gauge, so you can use this or this to measure millimeters, whatever you would prefer. But personally, I find this square block up in the corner of this thing alone to make this gauge a complete worthwhile purchase. I use this square to measure design millimeters, to identify stamps pretty much all the time. I love it. It's one of my favorite things. Now there's all kinds of other quirky stuff on here. I mean, grills, and you know, this one's geared specifically towards US stamps, and they even have a little perf gauge over here on the side, bunch of different varying perf sizes, and it looks like it goes from 8 all the way to 16. So anyways, I totally use this as well. The perf, you know, this works great. There's absolutely nothing wrong with it. There's different styles of perf gauges. If you're going to get into stamp collecting, you're going to want to get one of these because you're going to need these for measuring millimeters and checking the perforations. That's how you identify stamps. Now this one was one of the earlier ones I got before that specialty gauge. This is a very common one. I'm pretty sure I got this at Mystic as well. You'll probably notice the brand, Lighthouse brand. So anyways, you put your stamp over the little holes, line them up to see what size perforations you have. It also does have millimeters on there. But this being black, I find not as easy to use as the clear perf gauge, because you can just slap this right on top of your stamps, whereas this one you kind of got to put the stamps on top of it and line up the holes, right? The perforation holes. So anyways, choose whatever style you want. This is cheaper than this, but this is far superior if you ask me. I would choose that one any day over this black one. Plus it's bigger. Yeah, this one works. Sometimes I use this, but I almost always prefer my clear specialty gauge. Totally worth the money if you ask me. Love that gauge. Next, okay, let's start with, okay, well, so this is a a wand, like a literal, like a magical wand. It's just a wooden pointer that I use to point things out on albums, so that's really not required in stamp collecting. That's just something I use because I make videos. So any kind of pointer would work, right? Even a pencil, whatever. To finish off, almost finish off this tray actually. So they have like stamp boxes. So this is a very small example of a storage box for stamps. Now, I happen to use this particular box for part of my inventory for my eBay and Hipstamp stores. So I have these catalog, or these are all listed on my stores. I just keep them in this little box. Generally, what people do is they keep stamps in Glassines, and then they keep, they put the top on, they keep them safe in these little storage boxes. They come in all kinds of different sizes. This is literally the tiniest storage box that I have. I didn't actually buy this one. I think this came in a collection that I bought, and it's so itty bitty and tiny compared to most that I have. I'll show you the other ones in a while. But these little storage boxes, fantastic for anything stamp collecting related. Keep your stamps in there. Next thing, the Carson Lumi-Loupe. Now, the Carson Lumi-Loupe is something that's really mainly for postcards. It's to help you identify real picture postcards or not. Now, I will say it's like a 10 times zoom on this Carson Lumi-Loupe, but I love using this for stamps. I don't care if it's meant for postcards. I find great use out of this thing almost all the time. Put the stamp on the desk, you put the Lumi-Loupe right over the stamp, and get a nice up close look at what you want to see, any detail that you need to see to identify stamps. This will almost always do it. So I absolutely love this Lumi-Loupe. Now hold on for a sec. Let me step over here and grab the other items that I also recommend and use to look at details, fine details on stamps. Well, of course, good old-fashioned magnifying glass. Can't go wrong. You can use an old-fashioned one. This one actually has LED lights on the back. Bought this on Amazon. So this thing's pretty sweet. It just helps with that little extra light. Not completely necessary if you're in a well-lit room or area, but I find that sometimes a little bit helpful. You can tell the difference. It does make a little bit of a difference there. So magnifying glass, perfect, nice little tool, just like the Lumi-Loupe, to look at small details and get an up-close view on your stamps. Besides that, I have this wireless microscope. This guy has totally been worth it in my opinion. I actually did a video on this guy. You can zoom in with this up to 1,000 times. It says 50 to 1,000 zoom. Now, this connects to your phone on an app. You can live view through the microscope on your phone, and of course this absolutely will give you way more detail than the Lumi-Loupe or a magnifying glass by a mile. I mean, there's no comparison. This gets so detailed and zooms in so far I can see the fibers of the paper of the stamp. I can see the actual literal splotches of ink used to print the stamps. If you're trying to see, let's say, the tiniest little detail to differentiate between different stamp types, I find that this can actually be unbelievably useful. Because sometimes even with a magnifying glass, I'm struggling to really get a clear look and say, well, is it a type 1, 2, 3, 4, 5? Sometimes stamps are complicated, unfortunately, and they have a whole bunch of different, very itty-bitty details that you need to look at and decipher through to determine what stamp you have. And sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes specifically with very old early US stamps, I find this thing so useful. So I highly recommend them. They're cheap. They're on Amazon. This specific one isn't available anymore. It was a Takmli brand. Okay, whatever. But you can just log on to Google or YouTube, Amazon, excuse me, and search for, small wireless desktop microscope, and they all look pretty similar to this. You're going to see them all just looking like this bunch of different brands. Just pick one. Go for it. They're cheap. I'm not even kidding. 20, 30 bucks. And now you've got a cool little microscope that's wireless and all that too. You can save the videos. You can save the photos. It's awesome. I love this thing. Yeah, if I didn't mention, you can take videos and photos with it. So highly recommend. These are awesome tools. So the only other thing left on this tray, oh actually, there's one more thing. So I have my little holder with all my different pencils, pens, markers, different colors. Sometimes it's useful to have different colors of things. Now I just actually picked this up. These are pens, but they're erasable pens. You guys may have seen this and heard of this already. I had in the past for sure, but completely forgot there's even such a thing as an erasable pen. So I got these retractable pens on Amazon. This is the brand in case any of you are interested in them. Highly, highly rated on Amazon. Different colors, which is great, so you can kind of snazz things up. Or let's say you just wanted to use red on something to point out a detail on a stamp. Or if you want to write with regular black, you got it. I mean, whatever color you want, for whatever purpose you want. And if you like the experience of a pen, these feel exactly like gel pens. There's practically no difference. But the difference is, it's got an eraser, and you can actually erase it. So if you want the pen experience without the permanence of an ink pen, there you go. Those are pretty cool. I definitely recommend these. Frixion brand. These happen to be the Synergy clickers. These are awesome. I find those totally just like worth the money. I mean, sometimes I go between a mechanical pencil or a pen. And since I got these, I've been using these like when I'm making an album and I write some information, I'll be darned, sometimes I screw up, I write the wrong information, or go to make an 8 and I make it sloppy, or whatever. We make mistakes when we're writing, but I wanted it to be in pen, and it's like, oh crap, when you do it in real pen, it's permanent forever. That sucks. It looks crappy in the album. This way, if you do make a mistake, at least you can correct it and keep your album looking nice and crisp. So I like those. Erasable pens, awesome tool. Next thing, this will be little tea candles. Okay, so candles, what do I use these for? This is going to move me on to my next thing, which is going to be wax seals. So let me go ahead and move this out of my way. Hold on for a moment. Okie doke. So now wax seals, they definitely are something that I love to do. They're just for fun, totally unnecessary, to be honest, in today's world. We have adhesive envelopes that you just lick them and close them, and we have just self-adhesive envelopes, and they're sticky. You just peel a strip off. Anyways, I like to write letters on occasion here still, and I like to make wax seals. Now I got this little wax seal and stand. You can find these all over the place. They're on Amazon, they're on eBay. Basically the idea is you take your candle. Now, before I keep going, let me just say, I bought a whole pack of like 20 of these. These are scented tea candles. Now they're not the same as this. You can see the difference. This is a true like tea candle. Very, very shallow profile. These ones are actually too tall. Unfortunately, with my wax stand, that's been a problem. They sit too high up in the stand. So what happens is, after I light them, and I put the spoon on it, by putting the spoon on it, it almost kills the flame. Sometimes it does, and I have to relight the candle. So just beware if you do get into wax stamps. This is actually a stupid problem that I have gotten into, and I have a whole box of these. And I'm not going to throw them away. I'm going to use them. But they're too tall. So if you're going for wax seals and you want wax candles, get actual tea candles. Okay, they're much shallower. You won't have stupid problems. If you do get a wax stand, you don't even need a stand, by the way. There wouldn't even be a problem with these. A lot of people just simply hold the spoon over the flame, melt the wax in the spoon, bippity boppity, right? So just a little heads up on that. But these shallow tea candles, they definitely work best. They have plenty of room for oxygen to get through. And I just like the stand. The whole point of the stand was that I can just let it sit and I don't have to hold it the whole time. So anyways, wax seals. Now, you guys might be saying this has nothing to do with stamp collecting. Well, if you're a stamp collector, you might get into this. So I'm just going to run through this. A whole bunch of different wax beads. You can get assorted sets. Stationery, that kind of stuff. there's like bundles out there that will come with wax beads with different stationery and envelopes and papers. And for those of you that don't know, also you can get like antique looking paper on Amazon. You can get different bundles with different, the paper looks old, like it's 100 years old, that kind of stuff. Different colors, different tones, very cool, for making unique letters and whatnot. Anyways, pick your beads, put them in a spoon, light the candle, melt it. I also have ended up buying like a kit, a wax seal kit. That comes with a little wax sealer handle. Put on your favorite wax seal. These are removable. These are little, I forget what you call them, like little wax seal presses. And so these ends, you basically pour your hot wax on the envelope, let it stand on there for a while. It gets a cool design. As it cools off, the design stays. So anyways, now you can get, like I was saying, lots of different wax beads in variety packs. Just so you guys know, just to mention a couple of cool ones. There's pearl wax. Pearl has a really beautiful sheen to it, these wax beads, and it comes off like a pearl shell. I totally love pearl, absolutely gorgeous. But one of my all-time favorites, which I actually just happened to buy a whole big old bottle of, is this old-fashioned like antique red. That's like one of the most common colors of wax seals, and it's very old-fashioned style, very old-fashioned color, kind of shiny still. Anyways, I love these old red seals. If you're looking at envelopes and old letters from the mid 1800s, early 1800s, and from Great Britain and all across the world, in philately, I've seen plenty of old letters that are stampless covers. They didn't have adhesive postage stamps yet. They were franked instead of stamped. That's going back a bit further. But they would usually seal those older envelopes with wax. So anyways, that's it for the wax seal spiel, guys. Not an absolute necessity in stamp collecting whatsoever, but it's something that has sparked my interest, and I do love it. It just gives things that old-fashioned touch. The final thing about it, you can buy, I buy these markers. These highlight your wax seals. They're pretty cool, different colors. They're like shiny markers to highlight the wax seals when you're done, like the borders, or you want to fill in, the rose petals and make them deeper red, or any of that kind of idea. These are fantastic. Bought this on Amazon. Okay, next up, get yourself a decent pair of scissors, guys. You can get the cheap scissors at the store. They work just fine, but I find getting a actual high quality pair of scissors has just been worth every single penny. Now these are super duper sharp. You could totally cut yourself with these. Stab somebody to death, right? These are super duper sharp. They're basically like knives. But opening packages, cutting stamp mounts, cutting paper, all kinds of stuff. The common use, like just every single day, I use this pair of scissors, and I absolutely love them. Let me look them up real quick, give you some details on these. Okay, yeah, I got these on Amazon. They're called Westcott is the brand. It says it right there. As a matter of fact, you can see that. Now, these are only $25. Okay, now that's actually kind of expensive for a pair of scissors, but these are super duper high quality. Absolutely love these. Heavy duty. The only thing I will say, if you do end up getting this pair, is this likes to come loose, this little nut. I got to put a pair of pliers on here and tighten this fairly regularly, like maybe every couple weeks, because it does come loose. As it is right now, I can actually just unscrew it. You see that? Kind of annoying. And then you'll notice it like start to cut crappy, and you'll say, what the heck? And oh, my nut's coming loose. Let me just get a little something to tighten that down. Not a big deal with this particular pair, but yeah, this nice pair. They're gold, what do they call it? I guess gold finish. And boy, these things are sharp, and it just makes life better having a good pair of scissors. Anyway, next thing besides that, we'll talk about stock books. Stock books. This is actually the earliest stock book that I've ever bought. I bought several of them. You can get these on Amazon as well, these little black stock books. These are awesome for storing stamps. You want to organize stamps, you can't go wrong with these. They're archival safe. They have these glassine pages to separate the actual stamp pages. Whoops, excuse me, a little burp. Where you put your stamps. Now, this leads me to an interesting one that I'm probably the only guy that I've ever known, or at least that I've ever seen, that will do this, but I started using these big time. I actually did have these books, both of these books, full of stamps. I took them all out, put them in my albums, but I used these stock books to organize these stamps in there. Now this one, let's say, is just a larger example of a stock book, also on Amazon. I think it was like $50 I think. So you stamp stock books come in all kinds of different sizes, and yeah, they have the glassine pages to help protect your stamps. That's kind of a staple of stock books, having these glassine pages. Over time, these pages will yellow in tone, but when they're new, they're nice. And anyways, now what is this? Anybody got a guess? I bet some of you know. This is for cleaning your gums in your mouth. And I think it's actually Gum Brand, G-U-M. You can get it at the store, right? It'll be by all the toothbrushes. Why do I use this? Well, for lifting up these little rows here. Some people will use tongs, some people use their fingernail, whatever. There was a point in time where, I'm not kidding you, I was organizing thousands of stamps, and it ended up being really annoying trying to use tongs all the time. Sometimes I just go like this over and over, and they slip over, and like, this thing having a little rubber tip, I found to just be a fantastic little tool to lift up the plastic and lets you slip your stamp under. It works like a charm, like every single time. This is the best thing that I've ever found. If you're going to spend hours and hours dicking around using stock books, this is gonna, this might be worth it to you. So anyways, this is totally a personal thing. I have never seen anybody ever use one of these for this purpose. But like I was saying, this just makes it super duper convenient to lift these up and slide your stamps underneath with your tongs. I literally was organizing so many things that it became a pain in the ass for me, and this was something that I ended up doing. These tips are changeable. You just pull them off, put a new tip on. You can buy packs of them. They do wear out. I've literally worn out these tips lifting up these little rows to put stamps in stock books. So that's kind of a weird tip, but anyways, that's actually a tool that I use, this gum cleaner. Go figure. So anyways, stock books are awesome. They're a fantastic thing for stamp collectors. Feel free to buy yourself some. You're going to get use out of them at some point, I guarantee it. Stock books are like a staple of stamp collecting. Everybody knows stock books. This stuff, you don't really display stamps in stock books so much. You really utilize stock books to organize your collection for them to be put into an album on display. Just so you know, if you wanted to put your stamps in here, keep them in here forever, you could, but generally people just use these to organize their collection. So anyways, that's stock books. All kinds of colors, shapes, sizes. Anyways, let's move on to these acrylic paint markers. Now, the reason that I move right onto these is because I use these in tandem with my stock books. Actually, here, let me grab a different stock book that I've actually built to show you what use I get out of these acrylic paint markers. Okay, so what have we got here? Just one of my freaking ridiculously massive stock books. Just a sec here. Open this up. So, I bought these giant Amazon Basics or Amazon Essentials 6-inch binders, right? Big giant binders. I mean, they are huge. Whoopsie. They're huge binders, okay? Big giant rings. I bought these. This is actually, I have like 4 of these for my US stock that I keep in here. You'll notice these numbers written on these Vario pages, which is something I'm going to talk about too. So I bought a you can see, and this is just one book. I can't even tell you, maybe I've spent like $1,000 on all these different pages. I mean, this is all Vario pages. This is so many freaking pages. These cost money, guys, but they're safe for stamp collecting. They're archival safe. You can keep your stamps in them, and they're blank. So for you to know, these are specifically 8S Vario pages. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. You can get all kinds of different stock pages, I think is what they're called. And Vario is my favorite brand, V-A-R-I-O. Anyway, I use these to store stamps. So I use this to organize my US collection. Now, they're blank. They don't have anything on there. So what do? Or what did I do? I bought acrylic paint markers. I can't remember where I actually figured this out, if it was a forum or I just... I think actually I had an epiphany, to be honest. One day I was like browsing through Amazon just looking for stuff to buy. I'm not even kidding. And if I'm not mistaken, and I found these and was like, wow, these are cool. And it says that they're, you can erase them. And I was like, huh, because they are water-based. It says right on the markers. So you can write whatever you want. You want to write France. Well, you kind of got to get them going, and you push the tip down to get them inking. It can take a sec. There you go. See, and you can say, okay, well, I want this page to be France. So you can write France. Now, the nice thing about these being water-based, they write right onto these Vario pages, no problem whatsoever. Okay, a little blurry up there, I think. And the next thing is, let's say you wrote something you didn't want. Oops, I don't want to do France. They just wipe right off. Love it. Now, I will say that the longer that it's been on there, and depending on the actual color that I've used of these markers, I find some to be easy to erase than others. But they are water-based, and if you just wet a paper towel or a rag, it should rub right off. This white one of this whole pack ended up being the easiest one to come off. See that? I can scrape it right off using the tip of the pen, fingernail, whatever, comes right off. So that's awesome for me. That way you can repurpose these pages later. So you know, you wouldn't want to write them with permanent marker and say France when later you want to use them for Germany. They'll start to get nasty. So just a tip, you can totally use these water-based acrylic markers to label anything you want on Vario stock pages. That was something that I obviously did quite a bit of as I went through like the whole US stock that I have, you know, bit by bit through these big books, and I ended up labeling different rows, leaving spaces for additional stamps in case I find them. And I used this method to make my US stock books. So instead of using actual stock books, because they get expensive, I mean, these pages aren't cheap, but US, you know, buying actual stock books themselves, you know, they're expensive. And so I ended up just making these giant binders. This is one way to organize your stamps. You can do it however you want. You can use Glassines and just write on the Glassines, or you can use stock pages. I like stock pages. I've always been a fan. So anyways, yeah, these stock pages, another fantastic stamp collecting tool or supply, because they keep your stamps safe and organized. You can buy them in varying rows, where like, so these are called Vario 8S because there's 8 rows for stamps. You can get 5S, 4S, 3S, 2S. A 1S is just a big giant page with only one row, and so the corresponding number with the S as far as Vario pages is what designates how many rows there are. So these rows, not very big. You can't really fit big stamps in these rows. You're gonna want to get bigger rowed pages. I'll get into that a little bit later. But anyways, just another side note on these acrylic water-based markers. The only actual downside that I found, you gotta let them dry. If you don't let them dry, you're gonna regret it. And it can take a sec. I find if you blow on it, it speeds it up. But you see that? it rubbed off on my finger. It's still not completely dry yet. So that was something that actually slowed me down quite a bit, making all these pages. Every single time I'd write a number, I would have to sit there and just wait for 20 to 30 seconds for it to dry. But I suffered through all that, and I made these books, and here I am. I have these awesome US stock books. So I'm very pleased with them, and ultimately they work for me. So just like the gum thing, I don't think most people would do it like this, but this is how I've done it. Whatever, you know. There's like the gentleman who has this YouTube channel, Bob Collects Stamps. There are no rules. You can do whatever you want. Do whatever works for you, you know. And there we go with me using those little tags, those little tabs from earlier I mentioned. This was just a quick way for me to jump through the Scott numbers so that I can quickly get to whatever stamp stock I need to get to for whatever reason. Just another tip. That's a cool thing to do. It kind of helps you, especially if you build big fat stock books like me. That's kind of a necessity, otherwise you're browsing through looking for what number you want. It can be annoying, so that speeds me up. So anyways, there's my ridiculously humongous stock book. So yeah, these markers, they kick ass. I love them. Also, they come in different sizes. See, here you go, another acrylic painter. These are just little itty bitty ones. Haven't gotten a whole lot of use out of these, but these have a much finer tip. And the one that I've stolen out of here is the red one. And I use that pretty consistently for writing in albums. And the reason being is it's bright red, and I like that. It kind of stands out, because I'll say, you know, I'll put a little arrow and say torn perf, or you know, put an arrow and say creased, or something like that, like things to know, or just write general information about the stamp. These have a fine tip on them, much easier to actually write with compared to these. So different sizes, just something to know. Another tool you can use. All right, let's move on to the next thing, which is gonna be a paper cutter. Come on, guys, you're gonna want to get one. Now this is a pretty cheap paper cutter that I got on Amazon. I have gotten like just so much freaking use out of this paper cutter. Oh my god. Building albums and stuff, like I'll print out pages of information or print out pictures or maps or whatever I'm going to put into my album. I find this thing almost invaluable. Now, of course, I have the scissors, but I can, of course, never cut such a clean line as I would get with a paper cutter. If you have a real legitimate paper cutter with a handle, those are definitely superior to this, in my opinion. However, I don't have a lot of space. Those are more expensive. I ended up going with this, and I do love it. I find I have the most success pushing away from myself to cut things, but it has a little ridge here on the bottom, and you just set your paper straight against the ridge, gauge right down the center of this where you want to cut, whoosh, cut it off. I use this to cut borders off of you know, maps or pictures that I print, that I don't want that big margin or border left by on the printer paper. Cut it right off with this. It's a nice clean cut, beautiful, very useful little tool, a paper cutter. Don't sleep on that. You're going to want to get one of these more than likely. Okay, next thing is going to be this. Now, I wasn't kidding, guys. I'm really going through these tools and supplies today. This is everything I could think of that I end up using. So this is a drying book. So when people soak stamps off of paper envelopes, paper cutouts that have a stamp still stuck on there, you soak it off with some soapy water, you know, 20-30 minutes, get all your stamps off. They're all wet. Now, how do you dry them and have them be nice and flat? You put them in your drying book. Now, I think I did actually pick this up from Mystic. As a matter of fact, I know that I did. And I should have the information here up already, if I'm not mistaken. One sec, sorry guys. Okay, yeah, so this was $8 for this drying book. I call it the Desert Magic Drying Book. If you're going to be soaking stamps off paper, this is worth doing. They give you even directions on how to do it. They tell you to remove the stamps with tongs off the paper after you soak them. You're going to put the stamps face up on the glossy side of the release paper. So yeah, you'll notice this has kind of a textured finish, this paper. this, sorry. Compared to this, right? This back side. Oh wait, sorry. Nope. There you go. Glossy. Okay. So according to this, and I don't use this a whole lot, but it's really nice to have when you do use it. So I'm going to place the stamps face up on the glossy side. Okay, so basically the stamp will be facing up towards you and you put it on this glossy paper, and this kind of matted paper you're going to close on top of it. You're going to leave your stamps in here, they're going to dry. A lot of people like to put a book or something on here to help press it and keep the stamps flat. You let it dry for long enough, open it back up, take your stamps out, and they're going to be nice and flat. And that's the point of this book. It helps dry them into a very nice, clean, crisp, flat stamp so that they look nice. So a drying book, totally worth it if you're going to be removing on paper stamps. If you want them to be off paper, you got to soak them and you got to dry them. This thing works great. So I totally love this thing. Alrighty, let me move on to the next thing. Hold on for a moment. Okay, next thing, stamp mounts. Okay, we went through hinges, and then we're going to talk about mounts. Mounts, what are they? They're used to keep your stamps safe and put them in your album. Now, let me grab a pair of tongs. So, there's all kinds of different stamp mounts. A pretty common one that you're going to find, let me start with this, is these little stamp mount, kits. Now, these happen to be Showguard brand, which is a pretty popular brand of stamp mount. You can find these little kits on Amazon, Mystic, eBay, all over the place, right? These kits have varying sizes of mounts. They're pre-cut, and you can just pop your stamps right into the mounts, put them in your album. Mounts are pretty essential these days for stamp collectors. It's a way to display your stamp and protect it. They're archival safe, so they're not going to damage it over time. And what happens is they have these little flaps. You fold them open, slip your stamp in one way, open the other flap, put the stamp in on the other side, boom, you've got yourself a mounted stamp. Now, they come either clear mounts or black mounts, where a lot of people choose the black mounts because they help the stamps, at least most stamps, stand out on this black background, right? So anyways, on the back is adhesive. You can use a wet paper towel, you can wet your finger, use your tongue with some spit, whatever you want to do, but you need to wet it, and then it'll be adhesive. Then you can just go ahead and stick it right into your album with your stamp in it. Now, a lot of people will only wet or lick one side of these. You'll notice the cutout in the back. The point is, if you only lick one side and then you stick it in your album, then you can still lift up the other side and take your stamp in and out so that it's not permanently mounted on there. So up to you what to do. Lick both sides, one side. If you think that you're going to be removing the stamp for any reason, like you want to be showing people the stamp, only lick one side on the back. Otherwise, lick both if you intend for it to just simply be in there. Even if I often lick both sides, and you can still slip a pair of stamp tongs into the plastic and pull the stamp out, in my opinion, most of the time. But if you, like I was saying, if you really do intend on, maybe I'll be taking the stamp out to show people because it's a showpiece, and I want to show them the back or any of that kind of thing, only lick one side. That way you can still open the mount and take the stamp in and out. So stamp mounts, pretty much use them constantly. Yeah, they come in these little kits like this, or where they're pre-cut, or you can buy them in strips. Now I use strips like all the time. I love strips. Strips are kind of more customizable. So you'll pull out a single strip. Let me see if I can get one out of here. Okay, pull out a single strip, and I like strips for a few reasons. For one thing, you can choose how to put stamps in them, in where sometimes the stamps will fit from this way. You know, let's say this is the bottom and top of the stamp. It'll fit in here in this direction, but not in this direction because of the different width. So I can put them in here. It'll take up, let's say, this much of the stamp mount. I just simply chop it off with some scissors at the bottom of the stamp, careful not to cut the perfs, and then you kind of made yourself a stamp mount. One thing that I also do that I'm not sure any of you guys also would do, but so sometimes, see, this is a 25 millimeter high stamp mount, and they're meant to be used like this. They mean 25 millimeters tall, as in this direction here. So what I'll do is sometimes when I'm making albums, I'll take thicker or wider stamp mounts. Like for example this, now let's say, how about this 61 millimeter stamp mount strip. So these are definitely way bigger than that 25, even more than double, and you'll see here they can stick a little. I like to give them a little wiggle as I pull. Just how wide each individual side is, significantly wider, right? So what I'll do is I'll get that paper cutter, put the stamp mount on the paper cutter, and slice these right down the middle. And I'll find sometimes that, and basically I'll create two strips using a single wide stamp mount. And cutting this right down the middle and making two strips is kind of like having two of these, except for it's just a single open flap after you've cut it. So the stamps come in and out pretty easy. So I do that a lot. I'll take a wider strip and just cut it and get two strips out of it. And then, yeah, these wider strips, I mean, I just have to have them. I mean, all the different stamps that I put from different countries of the world, they're different sizes, little tiny souvenir sheets even. Like if you want to put them in your album and you want them to be protected, you're going to want to mount them, and so you're going to need wider strips. Now, these stamp mounts obviously come in varying sizes. Get whatever you need. I get these from eBay. There's actually just some guy that happens to have these Scott mount strip bundles. Doesn't want to go in, I'll deal with that later. And I just find all the different sizes. I find 25 to be very useful. That's a pretty small one. They get even smaller, like 20, 22. But I find 25 to fit most tiny kind of general issue stamps. 27 has its place for me. There's stamps that are generally like they just don't quite fit in a 25 millimeter strip. I do want to mention, you know, when you go to put the stamps in here, sometimes you'll like find yourself, at least I do sometimes, thinking that I can fit a stamp in these strips, and I'll stick it in the bottom and then try and stick the top on top of it. But I find myself sometimes, like, I feel like I'm going to be forcing the perfs or bending the perfs to fit them in there. That's a bad idea. That's the difference for me of a 25 or a 27, where I would have to fold these open and really be pushing the perfs down to get them to fit in the strip. That's too small. You want to have a little space. You want to protect your perfs. And so I'll sometimes go to put a stamp in a 25 millimeter, and when I do the back flap, I say, wait a minute, it looks like it's going to bend the perfs. Stop right there. Let me get a little bit wider, try a 27, and I'll find the 27 just flaps closed all on its own. Those extra little 2 millimeters were all that I needed to avoid perf damage when trying to put the perfs in the strip, or the stamps in the strips. So choose the right size. You don't want to you should not be forcing your stamps into any of these mounts. They should fit in there and have a little space to spare around the perfs, and that's what you're looking for. That way you don't damage them when you take them in and out. It's just a bad idea to use one that's way too tight. So anyways, yeah, 25, 27, 30, super duper common, use that all the time. I've recently fell in love with 39 millimeter strips. I find these to have enough space that fit a lot of stamps, and it's just very useful for me. I will go back and forth on strips, just so you guys know, whether I put the stamps this way or this way in the strip. Just depends on what I have available. I don't have all the different sizes. There is a ton. I just choose, I've found over time the ones that work for me. Yeah, and 25, 27, 30, 39, and then I do also like 44. That one I use pretty commonly. very convenient in my opinion. I like having 50s on hand. I do find use for 50s, and then I've stepped up to 61s for kind of bigger stamps. I end up using these too. So, stamp mounts, totally worth it. You're going to want to get them. They're worth your money. Protect your stamps and display them and mount them in your albums in a protected, civilized fashion. They also, mounts tend to keep stamps in albums better than hinges. I feel much more confident mounting a stamp in an album than using a hinge. So anyways, just food for thought. Now, like that other kit here with the different stamps, I had bought one from Mystic at some point. I threw away, I think, the box or whatever, but a bunch of different variable sizes. One other tip with stamp mounts, you can take your stamp, hold it on top of, if you get this style of mount kit. Actually, no, it came in this bag. Never mind, I didn't throw it away. This is what it came in, and they show you a picture of the stamp on the mount. So before you even try and put a stamp in a mount, you can simply put it on top of this image and see if it'll fit. And if it looks like this and you have a little space, a little black border, the stamp should fit. You just go through and find the right ones that will fit. So my battery's going to die, hold on. So anyways, yeah, depending on the stamp that you're thinking of putting in the mount, you can put it on the image and see if it'll fit in the hinge, or the mount, before you even attempt to put it in there, which could cause perf damage. So I do find the images on the front of these to be quite useful. So yeah, there's pre-cut mounts, right, like these, and strips. And the strips I just find customizable. Cut them to shape, use them how you want them. I like the versatility of actual strips compared to the pre-cut stamp mounts, but these definitely are convenient. I think it's worth having both. Just go pick yourself up a kit with this variety of stamp mounts. There's actually quite a bit in here. You'll have to go through a lot of stamps before you use up a whole kit. Also, just to mention, stamp mounts get huge. They get freaking massive. You can see the size of this one. These are definitely more expensive. You get ready to pop, $8 a mount or $5, sometimes $10 for bigger mounts, right? They just get bigger and bigger. I even have full page mounts here that you could put, let's say, and this is just one big giant mount, right? It does have the double folding back, just like a regular mount, to put your stamp in. But let's say you had like a sheet of stamps. You wanted to mount it in your album. You can get big mounts just like this. And yeah, these aren't cheap. They're more expensive than regular mounts. But I find sometimes that this just fits the bill. It's what I needed. Sometimes they have stamp releases that are like, a half a page size, and it's got a bunch of different stamps on a single sheet, like a big giant souvenir sheet. Bigger mounts are perfect for that. And then, like I was saying, black and clear. I also ended up getting full page size clear mounts too. So they're available in clear or black, whatever you're after, right? So figure out what you want to use and use them. I find that for most applications, black mounts are what you're probably going to end up wanting to use to make your stamps pop on the page, but clear mounts totally have their place too. Let's say by chance that you wanted to mount a stamp that was already black. Well, it wouldn't make sense to put it on a black background. It wouldn't help it pop. Maybe you'd want to put it in a clear mount on your white album page, and that would make the black stamp pop on the page. So pick the mount you want for your purpose. So anyways, that's mounts. Let's move on. Okay, so this one is not going to be for everybody, but if you're selling stamps, get yourself a nice scale. Okay, really worthwhile. Like I had that little tiny gram scale. I also got this big bad boy for when I'm sending any kind of package or mailing albums or something that's over several ounces, that we're talking pounds. Get a nice scale. Oh, it's worth it, trust me. I got this one on Amazon. Wonderful little thing. It has this kind of separate little gauge here, and you just turn it on, put your stuff, gives you the weight in pounds or ounces. Not great for little tiny letters or anything. I actually have a in-between scale that's kind of a kitchen scale, whereas I have that gram scale. Then I have a kitchen scale for measuring like a couple of ounces, let's say, which is very common for what most letters are. And then I have this bigger one for large packages. So just another side note, in case you end up selling or anything, it's worth getting, sorry, these scales. Okay, next thing. This isn't going to be a requirement, but this is another thing that I found great use out of: an easel. Okay, what is an easel? It's used to kind of keep you set a book on an easel, let's say like almost like a preacher at a podium, you know, and he wants to have his Bible facing him as he reads excerpts or something. These have little fold out with a little arm. Yeah, you put it in the cutout, and then you can stand your albums up on the easel like you're a teacher or something. That way they face you. I have found this to be incredibly convenient. It just holds your albums up and towards you so that you can just take a look at them and view them, work on them, whatever you need to do. Instead of it laying flat on the desk, the easel helps stand up any kind of book or album. And if you have big albums, I recommend getting a big easel. For that, let's say, giant US stock book that I showed, this easel just barely can handle it. Those books are huge. I almost would want a bigger easel, but for a regular album like this, I find this easel I got on Amazon to be totally worthwhile. And it folds up, so that's a nice thing. It's nice and compact. You just fold it up. By the way, it does have these little arms here. So when you turn the page, if you want to keep that page open, if let's say the pages want to fold on their own or hang or anything, it's got these little handy dandy arms to keep the pages in place while you read or work on your album. So I love this easel. Folds up pretty compact. Definitely worth the money in my opinion. I've been happy with it. Another side note, since I have this out here, is we have those stock books and stuff. Well, you can buy all kinds of different albums, of course, for your stamps. This happens to be a mint sheet album. If you're into mint sheets, you're going to want to get a mint sheet album. Why? Because of the kind of pages that they have. They've got these big archival safe pages with black background and a clear topper, and they open up big and wide for you to slip a whole sheet in to the page. And it's just the style of page you're going to want if you're building mint sheets, or you're working with sheets, or you're building a mint sheet album. This is going to be specifically the kind of album you're going to want to buy. They usually already have the pages in there. You can just buy these pages alone if you want. You know, if you're working with sheets or big giant souvenir sheets, you know, full sheets, that kind of stuff of stamps. These are the right kinds. So yeah, you can buy packs of these mint sheet pages for your albums if that's what you're into, just so that you're aware. And yeah, I think I got this from Mystic, mint sheet album, super safe brand. So anyways, when you're looking into buying albums and stuff, there are all kinds of different colors of albums out there. You can find these kinds of albums anywhere on the internet. I always refer right to my usual, which would be Amazon, Mystic, or eBay, like I was saying. That's kind of where I go to get most of my stuff, although you can find albums all over the place. Just so you guys know, if you're a new collector, there are albums that come with different pages and stuff, whereas, see, this one has these pre-made pages that are really meant for small covers or letters or postcards. And this one, I think, specifically was really meant for postcards. They slip in from the side on the back, actually. They open up there, and you slide your postcard or album or a letter in there, and then you can view and display them all. They can be clear or black pages, whatever you choose. A lot of them are clear so that you can see both sides of the letter. So don't be afraid to add in your own pages and albums as well. I like to do that. So let's see, none of these letters fit into these pre-made pockets, so I already have these Vario, where these ones happen to be 2S because there's only 2 sections. I think the S might actually stand for section, by the way. But these are 2 S's, and it's to put bigger letters, put them in the back of your album. That way you can fit the letters that didn't come with the original pages, or you know, whatever you want to do. There's no rhyme or reason. There's no rules. Do whatever you want. Find the pages that work good for you. Put them in your album. And there you go. But I just wanted to mention, as far as buying albums and stuff, there's all kinds of different albums out there. You're definitely going to want to look into buying some nice ones. They're padded generally, so they're soft to the touch. They sink under your finger. It gives them a luxurious feel. And then, yeah, choose different colors, designs, you know, whatever floats your boat as far as albums go. Feel free to just kind of let loose and get what you want and enjoy them. If you get into stamp collecting, you're going to be using albums more than likely. And buying them, you can buy them empty, and you can just buy the pages separate, whatever pages you want to fit in the albums. I will also mention, as I think about it, these Vario pages, they come with different hole cutouts for different binders. So you're more than likely going to be able to fit these Vario pages in whatever binder you buy. They do have different ring ring designs, ring spacing, that kind of idea. So they've kind of tried to compensate for that on Vario pages, where there's a lot of different holes cut out, so that they fit various binders. So that'll bring me to actually my next thing, a hole puncher. Excuse me, I'm sorry. I use this thing all the time. Now, I had actually been using a cheap piece of crap hole puncher I had since middle school or elementary school, and I recently upgraded and bought this nice high quality hole puncher from Boss Stitch. It was on Amazon. I can't remember what I paid, 20, 30 bucks, I don't know, something, right? Kind of seems kind of expensive, but the point is that it doesn't screw up pages when I go to actually hole punch them. It'll just cut right through them, multiple pages at a time, without skipping a beat. So I get nice clean holes punched in my pages that I'm going to put in my albums. These are already hole punched, these Vario pages, but I sometimes print out informational pages of just regular printer paper, or I need to punch some holes into some thicker, like, you know, construction paper, or even heavier paper than construction paper. That's when having a actual quality hole punch comes in handy. Trust me, if you're going to build albums and get into all this kind of arts and crafts, you know, artsy fartsy stuff, you'll find yourself punching holes in things on occasion. And if you just invest a little bit extra money into a decent hole punch, you're not going to screw up the things that you're trying to punch holes into, and it makes life a little bit easier. Plus, these things last a really, really long time. So it's an investment, you know, knowing that you're going to be using it for quite some time. So anyways, not to blab forever, everybody knows I'm talking about some pretty basic things in this video that are pretty common knowledge already, but this video I just wanted to be quite comprehensive in all the different stuff that I use, and this is one of the things, just like the other stuff. And I find that spending a little extra money, instead of spending $8 on a hole punch, spend 20 bucks. Get a decent hole puncher. These little tiny things here and there, they make a difference in the long run when you're working on stamps as much as I do. This is worth the money. And like I said, this will last a really long time. So, anyways, moving on to the next thing. Stock pages. Let's get more into stock pages. Now, I have a big fat stack of all kinds of different stock pages that I use. So let's just kind of run through this. For one thing, these are some really cheap, clear stock pages that are flimsy. They're not very sturdy. I use these for all kinds of different stuff. You can buy packs of these, like 100 a pack, and they're super duper cheap. Already hole punched. Fine for putting sheets or something in there that you just simply want to protect. These are just protector sleeves. right, that are already made for your albums. I buy these in bulk, and I do use them quite a bit. Looks like the ones that I actually bought are Samsill, Samsill brand, and I guarantee you I got these on Amazon. Like I said, big packs, hundreds of them in a pack. Now, there's all kinds of different protective pages that you can use to protect things in your albums. These happen to be non-hole punched, so they have no holes, but they're pretty similar to the other ones, although these, as you might be able to tell, are practically transparent, like completely transparent, whereas these ones have kind of a opaque looking tint to them. You can still see everything through them just fine. They're not as crystal clear as these pages. So I bought these specifically, and there's a whole pack that I'll show you in here of these, and this is another one where the hole punch plays into these, because sometimes I don't want to put them in the kind of opaque looking pages. I want them to be in a crystal clear page, and since they're not hole punched, I need to hole punch them. So anyways, this is something that I ended up doing. Now this stack has all kinds of weird stuff. These are just some random papers. But I have a whole variety of different stock pages here. See, this would be a 3S, Vario 3S. There's 3 bigger sections. These are great for like banknotes, you know, any kind of dollar bills, even postcards if they're small. And by the way, I don't think if I've mentioned, you can get single or double-sided stock pages. These have pockets on both sides, so I could actually fit 6 articles on this one page. Up to you whether you want single-sided or double-sided stock pages. You'll just have to decide what you want. We'll just run through like a big variation. These are for big vertical strips of stamps, right, with these pockets. I don't actually use these a whole lot, but I found that sometimes I would run across, when I was searching through big collections, long vertical strips of stamps. Well, they have pages for those, for you to store them. You can get them just like anything else, clear or black. So just to know, these are Vario, and there's such a thing, in case you were wondering. This one came out of some random album. Now, I just use these big Glassines to kind of keep these bundled so and grouped together. As a matter of fact, I think I'll put that one in there and keep that organized. So yeah, I just use these big Glassines to group these together so that I don't get too disorganized with them. But so here's a Vario 2S clear. It's just a 2-pane, and this would be a single-sided, where there is no pockets on the other side. It's only got the front pocket, and I think that is logical, it being clear. You know, the point of the clear ones is mainly, in my opinion, so that you can flip it over and see the back of whatever you put. So it would kind of defeat the purpose if they were double-sided. You wouldn't be able to see the back of the letter you put, and that's the point of them being clear, is to be able to see the back. So most clear things are going to be just a single pocket and not double-sided. So anyways, just kind of browse through. Okay, so I have, let me put these together actually. Things get a little disorganized. This is a big stack I've been working with for years now. So this just looks like a bunch of clear double-sided. I have one black in there, or single-sided, and I happen to have one black. But these are all 2S's, two big panes. Okay. And yes, I've blown money to have all of these, but it's nice to have them when I want them. So these look like 5S's. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yes, so these are 5S pages. It looks like I have black and clear. And true to form, just like always, the clear is just a single pocket, whereas these black ones, they've got pockets on both sides. So, anyway, 5S pages. Sometimes you're going to find yourself wanting 5S's, right? Because the stamps that you have may be just a little bigger or taller. You're going to want bigger rows. There you go. So look at this. This is 5C. I think the C means clear. This is an unopened package. Yes. Oh, well, it is open. It looks like, but so 5S. I think 5S's will be the black ones, and 5C's. Sorry, Vario 5C will be clear pages. Whenever you buy a pack of Varios, by the way, they also do list out the different variations and stuff. They have all kinds of different Vario pages for you to use. So, looks like I bought a whole bunch of 5Cs because I do find use for these bigger rows, and I like to clear sometimes. Here we have a 4C, so it should be even bigger rows. Yep, it's just 4 bigger rows. So, pick what you want. You're going to have to blow some money to get these pages, but the truth is you're going to end up wanting them if you're going to be building albums like I do. So I just keep a nice stock of these on hand. When I run out, I just buy more. This looks like a 8C, 3, 4, yep, 8C, so this is just an 8C. Similar to those 8S's I was showing you in my stock books. I chose the double-sided in the stock books to try and get the most out of the pages, right? Why would I use clear? Although I did actually use a lot of clear in those two. And it looks like I just have a big old thing of 8C stock pages here. These are the packs, kind of little pack that they come in. Yeah, and I just keep a whole bunch of these just because I need them. Eventually I'll walk right over and I'll need those. These look like the 8S's, yep, so I just got a bunch of extras of those. And you can store these things however you want. I happen to use these big Glassines, but keep them in a Tupperware, do whatever you want, filing cabinet, organize them. The way that I do it is kind of wonky, to be honest, like this, but this is how it's ended up for me. So these are big giant, looks like 1S pages. So see, this is the difference where that mint sheet album, the page would open on both of these borders. This one only opens from the top. Not conducive for trying to stuff a mint sheet into these pages. You're probably going to damage it. It just makes it a big pain in the ass. So that was my point before. If you're dealing with mint sheets, you're going to want to use mint sheet pages to put the stamps in. These are more for like big giant souvenir sheets or big envelopes or letters or whatever you want. But yeah, these are double-sided single pane sheets. I seem to have a few of them. I have some clear variations as well. And yeah, as I look at all these, it's like, owie, God, I know I spent a lot of money on all these, but these I've needed every different variation of these stock sheets at some point. So one other side, it looks like I cut up one of those vertical strip pages. You can totally do whatever you want with these sheets, you know. It's your world, it's your choice, it's your stock. You do what you want. Sometimes I'll just cut out a single pane and then hole punch it with my hole puncher. And let's say I only had one vertical strip but didn't want to sacrifice a whole page to it. I can just cut one of the panes out. So yeah, you use these things as you see fit, you know, to serve whatever purpose you need. Now, we were talking about these ones being kind of opaque, these clear protector pages. These are the crystal clear ones that I ended up buying. Look at this, 100 sleeves, acid-free protectors for full US sheet, made in Japan, blah, blah, blah. I bought these on Amazon, and I think it was like a 3-pack. I only have one here, but I think I had 2 or 3 of these packs, and yeah, these are super duper cheap. I mean, I got 100 of them, and I can't even remember how much they were. Let me look that up just for fun so I can share. Okay, so I had actually bought these from eBay, it turns out. Unfortunately, the same listing doesn't exist, but I bet that you guys could find them if this was something that you were after. These I actually bought, it was a 2-pack of 100 each, so it was 200 sleeves, acid-free protectors for full sheets, is how they described it. I put these back at the end of 2020. So anyways, these just were a random buy, but I really do like these being crystal clear, acid-free, and then you can just hole punch them if you want to put them in an album. So here's the info, so you can see what these are. And yeah, unfortunately the original listing isn't there anymore. I bought it from some guy called Firstamp, F-I-R-S-T-A-M-P, on eBay, but I guess he doesn't have them anymore. So another side note on things, index pages. Now these are nice for albums. They let you list out your put your number of your stamp, the year, the value, and it's a nice index page so that when you first open your album, it lists everything that's in the albums. Now usually when you buy albums, they will already have these index pages, at least particularly mint sheet albums did, I would find, so that you could skip. And what I would do with these mint sheet albums is in the top corner of the actual album page, I would write a number with one of those water-based acrylic pens, and then I would be able to reference my index card at the beginning of the album to just skip to whatever page to see what specific stamp I wanted. So index pages are nice. You can buy these. I do believe that Mystic actually sells these index pages, and even though it says mint sheet album, you can use them for whatever kind of album you want. Also, in the past, I have tried printing out my own index pages. You can find them on Google. All you got to do is Google index page, find them, and print them out. I like these because they're on a thicker paper. So these are actually pretty cheap over at Mystic. You can buy these pages, buy several at a time. That way you've just got index pages for whatever albums you want to make. It just makes a nice opener to the album. You can look at everything all in one shot and see everything that's listed in the album. And I'll usually actually catalog and value things and have a total value. I'll just hand write it in here in the bottom corner of what the album is actually worth altogether. That way I have a full value on this album before I even look at it. So index pages, just a thought. I did find them useful and I like them. So anyways, another thing, labels. Okay, label sheets. Now this little sheet here you can buy in packs. There's all kinds of different sized label sheets, right? They're self-adhesive, pre-cut labels. You just peel, you write what you want, you peel them off, bibbity boppity, slap it on your page, on anything you want. I found labels to be quite a nice thing to have, so just buy packs of labels if you want, if that's something you think you would need. Helps you label things and identify things, keep them organized, with labels. Labels are worth having. Don't sleep on labels. They're a handy dandy little thing. And you could even, let's say, handwrite all the information for a bunch of stamps that you were going to put in a glassine. Instead of writing on the glassine, you could just write on a label and stick it on the glassine. Kind of neat and tidy. So labels, another side note, I like those too. Alright, let's keep going. Okay, next let's talk about glassines. Super duper common. Your grandpa probably used these glassines, right? Little tiny glassine envelopes to keep your stamps in. They usually have a flap. Slide your stamps in there. Keeps them safe, protected. Glassine. They're like semi-archival safe. There's really nothing wrong with keeping stamps in glassines for long periods of time, but you'll find if you buy an old collection, eventually they do yellow in tone, and they'll actually become acidic. So for long-term storage, we're talking decades, you don't want to really use glassines. Or the thing is, you have no reason not to use glassines as long as you change them eventually. Because if I put a bunch of valuable stamps in this glassine and I kept them in here for 150 years, when I go and look at it, it's going to become a nice strong yellow or brownish color, and it will have turned acidic. And unfortunately, often I end up finding it ruins the stamps. They'll stick together, they'll become toned themselves. And toning, if you don't know, it's when the stamps yellow over time and change color, that kind of stuff, which is not ideal for stamps. Everything that we stamp collectors do is really geared towards, you know, keeping them safe in the long run. We're like curators at a museum, you know, we're about preservation. So you just have to know that the whole point, excuse me, sorry, hold on, I'm choking. Jesus, got a dry throat, a lot of talking. So yeah, the whole point is to preserve things. A lot of the stamps that you're going to have are already going to be very old, and it's a miracle that they made it this long and not been ruined. And why do things survive the test of time is because of people actually caring and storing them properly. So while there's absolutely nothing wrong with storing stamps and glassines and organizing your whole collection in a glassines, that's fine. You just don't want to leave them in there forever. That's not ideal. Now let me go and grab a glassine that's yellowed so that you can see what I'm talking about. I happen to have some glassines here in this bag. Thousands of them, I'm not even kidding. So there you go. Here's an example of one that's toned. See, you can tell the difference. I'm actually going to sell that big bag of used glassines at some point, but take a look at, see, here we have varying levels, let's say. Here we have brand new glassine. Looks amazing. This glassine, right here, you can tell it's toned a little bit. It is not pristine anymore. So this one has some age to it. Then you have this one, totally more yellow than the other ones. And it'll just keep getting worse and worse. Now, I usually throw them away when they get really nasty and yellow. They'll get a deeper yellow, they'll get brown. I throw them away in the garbage. By the way, you can actually recycle glassine. It is a recyclable material. I have gone through so many different collections, I looked that up at some point. Feel free to recycle glassine. Why not? But yeah, so anyway, I end up tossing them when they get yellow enough. This one is completely borderline for me. Honestly, I would probably just recycle this at this point. I might even keep it out of that bag. But I just wanted to showcase the difference. You can tell the difference, right? So that's the problem with glassine. Now, I'm pretty sure glassine is like semi-water resistant, which is nice. So as opposed to you know, keeping it in like a manila folder, your stamps, this offers a little bit extra added protection. If I'm not mistaken, these help protect some against humidity, which is a nemesis of stamps. That definitely ruins stamps, make them stick together. So this is kind of helps with humidity, helps with temperature. It's basically, glassine is just a nice medium to keep your stamps safer. So I'm actually going to set that aside, but you know, when you're talking glassine, you just got to know they're not going to last forever, and you can just look at the difference. Some of them are more yellow than others, so they don't last forever. They're a perishable storage option. Now that we've discussed that, let's talk about how there's all different types of glassines, different sizes of glassines. Here I have a smaller one compared to this. Get all kinds that you want. There's a whole bunch out there. They have little itty bitty glassines for single stamps that are super tiny. They have big giant ones that you can fit a whole mint sheet in. These are expensive in my experience. I think I bought these from Mystic, perhaps using my some of these I know I bought with money, but when you buy stuff on Mystic, I know I say Mystic a lot. I don't use them that much, to be honest, anymore, but when I started out I did. They're kind of like friendly to a new stamp collector, it would seem. At least you know you can trust them to some degree, even though they're not the cheapest. Mystic, they give you bonus points, reward points. So when you buy a bunch of stuff on Mystic, you can use your points to get free stuff. So I've gotten some of these big glassines using my reward points, which is actually quite a nice thing, I'm not going to lie. I really do like that about them. But once you run out, then you just got to pay for things. And so yeah, I bought some of these. Some of these I got with reward points, but you can see the difference. Any size glassine you're after, they're out there. You just go looking up glassines and decide which size you want for, you know, storing your stamps and organizing your collection. Now, anyways, well, let me set this stuff aside. I'll get into this in a sec. So here's an example of a bigger kind of stock box. Like that small red one I was talking about earlier, this one's much bigger. They have stock boxes, and I'm not even sure if that's the right name, but stamp storage stock boxes, whatever they're called. They almost always look like this, and they have a lid. The bottom slides right into the lid if you want to leave it open. These will fit different sizes of glassines, so you can get boxes that fit certain size glassines. Like, I can tell you this box is pretty much about right for these, maybe a little small, but let's say I wanted to organize all of my, you know, Bahamas stamps by Scott number, put them all in glassines, and organize them in a nice clean row in a box. That way you can just finger through and get to whatever stamps you want, and they're all nice and neatly organized in the box. So find a box that fits whatever glassine size you're going to go for, and that's one way that a lot of people organize their collections. If you just watched my last video where I search a stamp box, that box is pretty much set up the way that I'm talking about. So you can go look at that video if you want and just see how people store things like that, and that's fine. Use an album with stock pages, use a box with glassines, whatever you want. It's up to you. So anyways, I use this box for my additional storage. Now, there's another thing to talk about. I actually bought a whole bunch of stock cards. Now, instead of glassines, you can use stock cards. Stock cards are probably actually one of my favorite things, period. They don't seem to go bad like a glassine. I think eventually they're probably gonna have the adhesive wear out. It's just a clear, you know, acid-free, archival safe top on a black background card. The paper, everything is acid-free, so it's safe to store your stamps. They often will have little info here, so you can write the catalog price or what it's selling for. The brand that makes stock cards that I go for most of the time is Heko or Hiko. I'm not sure how to say it. I think it's Heko. And this stock card happens to be a 107B. This is a super duper common stock card. The B indicates the black background. You can get stock cards that have white backgrounds as well. And the number 107 is going to be the size indicator. So yeah, this is the size and the background make this a 107B stock card. You can use, actually this box would be perfect, as you can tell, for stock cards. So I could organize my whole collection in stock cards instead of glassines if I wanted. Now, I happen to have bought this big giant bit of stock cards from eBay. I could look it up. Honestly, it's like, no, I can't recommend a seller over another. Just go looking around, and you got to decide what size stock card you want. You want black or white background, and then find the right price that works for you for the amount that you want, anywhere, eBay, Amazon, blah blah blah. But yeah, I did actually buy these from eBay, I know for a fact, and they're just these pre-packaged stock cards. I love stock cards. I'm not gonna lie. If I had to choose stock cards or glassines, I would probably choose stock cards. Just knowing, like you can see in that bag, what happens to glassines. I'm not a fan of that. I think stock cards are an even safer option. So love stock cards so much. You don't even have to open a flap to take the stamps out. You just gotta lift up the clear plastic and reach in and get your stamp. They seem to secure the stamps well enough, in my opinion. Although, if you go and you try to put a whole bunch of stamps in these stock cards, and you make them really full, it does keep the tab lifted open, and stamps will tend to fall out of the stock card if you turn them upside down or anything. So these are more conducive for a smaller amount of stamps, whereas the Glassines having folded flaps would work better for bundles of stamps, or a large amount of duplicates. It would secure them better having a flap folded over. So just something to think about. And generally what I do, just so you know, with this is my like I just put all of these in my big giant worldwide album last night. It was up till 1 a.m. I save old stock cards and Glassines, and I just slip them in the front of this box like this to be reused. So if I didn't want to sacrifice a brand new stock card for something, why not just get my money's worth out of this already used stock card? I could erase it, I could cross it out, whatever, and reuse it for more stamps. I like to do that. That's trash. And I kind of just keep this box. I just slip whenever I use a Glassine or a stock card, and I feel like I might want to reuse it. Why not? I'll just slip it in here, like this one, for example. I had number 258 in there from 54. I mean, I can just erase that and reuse this stock card. Why not? There's nothing wrong with it. So, just food for thought. Okay. So that's Glassines and stock cards, and they do have different size stock cards. Like, actually, sorry to go back, but see, like this is like a dealer stock page, and it's like a stock card but on a page, and they have these in dealer books that they're selling stamps from when you go to buy from a stamp dealer. And so they come in different sizes and shapes and stuff, so just find the stuff that works for you. Now let me talk about these. These are gloves, right, for protecting your stamps. These are just cotton gloves. When you're handling stamps, the oils on your fingers can get on the stamps and ruin them. It's not a great thing. Let's say you're just eating a bag of Doritos. You wouldn't want to go touching your stamps with them. It's a stupid thing to do. So you can wear these nice. These are super cheap. You can just get a pack of cotton gloves on Amazon for like $5-10 or something. And if you're going to be handling mint sheets or stamps in general, to keep the oils on your fingers off of the stamps, these are great. And to stop when you actually do touch a stamp, to stop and avoid getting your fingerprint on the gum on the back of the stamp if you were going to actually handle them with your hands, which isn't really recommended. You should probably be using your stamp tongs. But let's say you're handling a mint sheet. When I build my mint sheet album, I can't pick a whole sheet up with these tongs. Okay, it's going to bend, it's going to fold over and bend, and I'm going to rip a stamp or a perf because I'm trying to pick up a whole sheet of stamps with little tiny tongs. That doesn't make any sense. That's where stuff like these gloves come in handy. You're going to want to consider getting these, especially, particularly actually, when you're handling really old covers. Covers from the 19th century and stuff like that, or even the 18th century. You're out there. You're not going to want to touch the covers with your hands if they're an old, valuable cover. It's definitely a worthwhile investment to just get a pair of these. So you can just wash them in the washer and dry them in the dryer when they get dirty. And if they get all nasty, like I know some of these, the fingertips have gotten kind of muddied up. I'll just throw them away and just get a whole new pack. Why not? They're super cheap, and it's a worthwhile investment to protect your stamps when you're handling them. And if we're talking, especially as I think about it, a big one for me was press sheets. Now I actually have a whole press sheet collection, which will feed actually right into what I'm going to talk about next. But when you're handling giant press sheets of stamps, full-blown press sheets, you're going to want to have gloves on. You're not going to want to touch it with your fingers, for one thing, like we know. But this will help protect your press sheets when you're handling those big giant sheets of stamps. It's almost a must to have these. So, anyways, next thing, this. Now, like I was talking about press sheets, I use these pages to separate my press sheets in my big giant press sheet box that I have. I did a video on my press sheet collection quite a while back, if any of you want to check it out. But these are big, long, archival safe sheets that fold out, and I use them as separators in between my press sheets in my press sheet collection box. So these big fold out archival safe papers are out there if you were unaware, and they're just a nice easy way to separate large items that you don't want to be touching each other. Now let me try and look up what these are called and where I got them. As I was browsing through my eBay purchase history, I just want to mention real quick, I did find where I bought these stacks of stock cards. I spent $80 and I bought 1,000 of them on eBay back in November of 2020. I still have that many left. So that was what I ended up doing. I bought them from Wizard Coin Supply on eBay. I bought a lot of things from that person. They sell really good stamp items. Check them out on eBay. Wizard Coin Supply. All kinds of stuff for stamp collectors on there. And yeah, this was a big box of 1,000 107B Hecko stock cards that I bought from him. All brand new. So anyways, let me try to find these still. Alright, I found it. It was actually Amazon that I bought these. These were called Retro Clean Unbuffered Archival Grade Tissue Paper, 24" by 36", and it was 12 sheets for, it's right here on Amazon, $11.40. If you're a Prime member, you get free one day. I bought these back in October of 2020, so I've been haven't been doing much with my press sheet collection, but yeah, they are archival grade tissue paper. So something to think about, right? Pretty great for separating press sheets. I keep them all in a big giant flat horizontal box, and I keep these in between the press sheets to keep them separated. So I think I'm almost done, guys. I got a little more. Let's see what's next. Okay, so let's talk about these bags here. Now, I actually ended up getting these for selling stuff, but I want to mention these because they're not garbage or worthless at all. These are self-seal bags. These are made of polypropylene. Now, polypropylene actually is archival safe. You've probably seen these bags. All kinds of things get sold in them all the time. They come in different sizes. I've got big ones and kind of medium ones. Now, according to the internet here, this material is considered archival safe as it is chemically stable and as close to pH neutral as technically possible with plastic. Doesn't contain any plasticizers. So these are dirt cheap, people. See, these are on Amazon is where I got it. That's the brand, Packet Cheek, or maybe it's the store, whatever. I'm looking right here at Amazon, and they have just about 8 different sizes. It is actually a store. It says on Amazon it's the Packet Cheek store. I think it's Chic, maybe, whatever. Packet Chic. Now, you can get them 3x5, 4x6. These happen to be 5x7. They got 6x9, 8x10, 9x12, 10x13, 11x14, right? A whole bunch of different sizes. So you could actually store stamps in these. They are archival safe. The only thing that I will mention is if you do end up peeling the adhesive strip off so that they'll close and stay closed on their own, just be wary about your stamps getting into contact with the adhesive on that strip. Otherwise, you could just leave the protector on there and it won't be adhesive. And these are great for storing all kinds of stuff. I absolutely love these bags. Let's see here. 200 of these, $8.98. This is a 200 pack of these for $9. Now that's cheap, guys. You know, so these are thin, they're flimsy, you just gotta know, but they are pretty much crystal clear, which is nice. I've actually been using these to put some covers and stuff into my giant worldwide album. Basically, I'll slip a letter in there, fold it over, tape it closed, and then adhere it to my album page. And there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, they're archival safe. So, something to know, polypropylene bags totally can store your stamp stuff in there. So this moves me on to my next thing. Hold on. Alrighty. Business envelope sleeves and postcard sleeves. Now, we also have another variation here I'll talk about, but I got really into selling postcards. I have a whole buttload of them, and these postcard sleeves are great. These are archival safe, right? Once again, they are clear polypropylene, no PCV, they're acid free, packs of 100, nice little sleeves. You can store whatever you want, stamp collecting related, little covers, postcards, stamps, whatever you want in these, and they will protect them. You just have a little opening on the side, slide your stuff in, piece of cake, right? Pretty simple. I keep a nice little box of them. I actually have a whole Tupperware literally full. I bought so many packs of these guys. So these ones are kind of small, these postcard sleeves, but there are these bigger ones when you're talking like size 10 envelopes. I find having the two different sizes very worthwhile. I end up using these bigger ones all the time, and so these are also archival safe, and they're just much bigger so that you can fit a whole envelope in there. I really like these. I find them very useful. Both sizes of these. On occasion, I end up just super duper glad that I have them. So I wanted to mention those two. These are 2mm polypropylene envelope, crystal clear envelope protectors. So, anyways, next thing will be this one. Actually, is quite dusty. Let me wipe that off. They have a harder, stiffer version of this kind of thing. It's just another protector. If you've ever bought a collection, you've probably come across these. Some people sell stamps in these. They're sturdier, thicker, harder, and they do protect things pretty well. They also come in different sizes, just like those sleeves. But this is just a little bit added protection. If I had a more valuable item, I would prefer to put it in something like this that is just thicker, stronger, more rigid. Let me look these up and see what these are called exactly. Okay, these are, I got these on Amazon. These are BCW brand, just like these, BCW. These are called postcard and photo top load holders. These are considered rigid plastic sleeves. Okay, so yeah, just something to know that's out there. Rigid plastic sleeves, and anyways, they say that these particular ones I got, they're actually high quality rigid PVC. Let me check and make sure that these are actually archival safe as well. Okay, so when I saw PCV, it made me worry, and apparently they're okay. See, it says the PVC used in BCW top loaders contains no plasticizers or stirates. They say that their high impact grade PVC does not migrate and will not harm your cards, photos, or prints. So, alright, that was directly from the description. Now, another one is, I went to Google and they're saying that they're made, that they're archival quality. They say, it says BCW top loaders are a popular medium for storage and display of collectibles. They're manufactured from rigid polyvinyl chloride, which is PCV. It contains no plasticizers, stearate, which is a salt or an ester of stearic acid, and they're not going to harm your stuff. So, I mean, apparently they're safe. So, while from experience, and I think for forums I've read, you really want to see things say the actual phrase archival safe. And this, even though they're saying it's considered archival safe, I'm still kind of wishy-washy about that, but I mean, it seems okay. And if you were worried if it was really a valuable stamp you were putting in here, you could always put it in an actual polypropylene cover and then slide it in here or whatever. And yeah, these do come in a bunch of different sizes. So there you go, there's those. So that was a long-winded video of a lot of different stuff. I hope that this helps some of you out there. You know, these are all the things that I've ended up using over a long time, and I have learned through trial and error what to use. These things are definitely a good option. Pretty much any of them, whichever you choose. Just know that, you know, I don't know everything about stamp storage and collecting. I just simply know what I've learned over the last few years. So these are the things that I like to use. They work for me. You know, use them however you want. There's really no right or wrong as far as how you store your stamps, just as long as whatever you're using is archival safe and, you know, logical to use. So ultimately I'm pleased with how I do it, and you know, there's more things to be seen and shown as well. This was everything that I could think of in one foul swoop here. So you know, some honorable mentions are going to be, actually, let me grab it real quick, is I forgot to mention Lineco pH testing pen. Okay, I can't get it to focus. So anyway, Lineco makes this pH testing pen. This is for checking if the material, the pages that you're going to be putting your stamps on are acidic or not. Totally worth picking out. If you mark the page somewhere, make a little mark, it's purple, it's safe. If it's yellow, it's not safe, it's acidic. Manila folders, not safe, I can already tell you that. I'd have to check, but I think like regular printer paper, potentially not safe. But maybe it is. Actually, I second guess myself. I'd have to check though, and I could, because I got my Lineco, Lineco pH testing pen. That's another great tip. Forgot about that. And another side note, checking watermarks, you don't have to use lighter fluid or, you know, Watermark Fluid. I think I had James at the Digital Philatelist say that he uses the torch function, the flashlight function on his cell phone to check for watermarks. You can totally do that. While I was researching and failed to see what was the chemical in Roncinol that you specifically needed, I can't remember, to check watermarks, one of the forums, the guy was saying he was using the scanner for his printer to check watermarks, and he would just put a black paper on there and then put the stamps on top, adjust the black and white on the scanner and take a scan of it and be able to see the watermarks. So that's brand new to me. That's something I learned just today making this video. Apparently you can check watermarks using your computer scanner. So think about that, and if that interests you, if you don't want to use any of these caustic chemicals, you know, it's not really particularly good to breathe lighter fluid, and that's why they made Watermark Fluid, is so you don't have to smell it and breathe it. Especially if you're in a confined space like me. I don't seem to care, it doesn't bother me, I actually kind of like the smell, whatever. But if you didn't want to use fluid at all, you could use a scanner. They also, by the way, for watermarks, have like a little x-ray machine that literally just uses like UV light or x-rays it or whatever. A little box you can buy, I don't know the name right off the bat, but they have x-ray devices to check watermarks. So there's some alternatives for the watermark stuff. But yeah, I wanted to do like an informational video for any of you that have been collecting for a while and maybe haven't seen any of these things, if any of this stuff could help you out, that'd be really cool in my opinion. And specifically for newer collectors that are just getting into the game and don't really know the tools that they're going to need, you know, and so this is to help you guys out, hopefully. And I know this is a long video, it's longer than I expected it to be, but I really wanted to run through just about everything I could come up with all at once, just to make like the most informative video that I could here. If anything comes up in the future, I'm going to try and write it down. You know, yeah, it's just up to you what to use. Stock books, you know, stock pages, Glassines, stock cards, you know, just so you guys know, I mean, if you buy those stock pages, those Vario 8S pages, you know, you can just buy those pages and just buy some really cheap binders online or at a Home Depot, or not Home Depot, more like Staples or something, or Amazon. You don't have to get those nice foam padded binders like I was getting from Mystic. Those are just for a little extra pizzazz. You can use a plain old regular binder that, you know, you would use at school, and build albums that way. There's nothing wrong with that. The nice albums are definitely more expensive. And so anyways, that was everything I could think of at once. So I was looking around and I can't really seem to think of anything else. I hope that this helps some of you guys. I hope you enjoyed. Maybe some of you got some extra tips that you didn't know, and that was the goal. So thanks for watching. If you guys have any comments, feel free to leave them down below. Please like and subscribe if you enjoy my videos. It really does help me out. I'm happy to help if you guys have any questions that I might be able to answer. Like I said, I don't know everything at all. I'm still learning. We're always learning. And this is just the stuff that I use now. So I do like to do my research and make sure that I'm doing things correctly, and when I make mistakes I like to fix them, like when I was using Scotch tape in my album. Thank you, I forget your name, whichever subscriber you were that mentioned that I'm not using the best tape. You're 100% correct, and as soon as I read that I thought, oh, he's right. Like, I am using Scotch tape and that is wrong. I should be using archival safe tape. You know, I do care, and so I'm always getting better, always learning, trying to do things as properly as I possibly can. And I really do appreciate you guys watching. Thank you so much for stopping by. Have a great day, take care, and I'll see you later.